Hello, hello, hello. This is your boy Brandon Cryer, aka EF Hutton of Entertainment. We are back with another review, and the TV show we are reviewing today is House of the Dragon episode 7. This is going to be a spoiler review, so if you haven't watched the episode, make sure you go watch it, then come back and watch this. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, House of the Dragon reviews, Rings of Power reviews, Andor reviews, trailer reactions, entertainment news updates, and just reviews on big name IPs that will be dropping in the future, like Avatar, The Way of Water. I'll be doing a review for that on here. Some of the biggest name IP productions I will be reviewing on the Brandon Cryer Network. So if you'd be interested in content like that, subscribe to the Brandon Cryer Network. You will not regret it. So now let's get into this episode 7, House of the Dragon episode 7 review. Now, this show honestly is elite. Like, this is what elite looks like. This is what elite TV, and I don't even want to just say TV. This is what elite production of a medium looks like. House of the Dragon is elite. Cinematography, it looks great. And I know there were some complaints this week that in certain areas, in certain parts of the episode, it was a little dark. I'm not gonna lie, I have a really good TV, so those parts, like the beach part, I'll get more into that down the line, but the beach part wasn't too dark for me, but I definitely understand the gripes. But for the most part, this show has been shot really well. It looks beautiful. The CG on the dragons look amazing. The plot and the storytelling, A1, just absolutely elite. The characters and the relationships, the dynamics between characters, elite. This show is honestly amazing, and it keeps getting better and better, and I just keep getting invested, and they somehow keep introducing more characters, and I always somehow think like I'm not gonna kind of get into those characters, but somehow I'm like, yo, I want to know more about these characters. So in this episode, it starts off with the funeral of Lena Valeno, who was married to Daemon. Obviously, we saw that she went out to Vhagar and asked Vhagar to Dracarys her because she wasn't going to survive the birthing process of the baby she was pregnant with. So it basically starts off with everybody in Driftmark. The name of the episode is called Driftmark. And what I really liked about this episode is it was like a play in a sense where there was probably only 4 settings max. The initial funeral where they dropped Lena into the, like returning her into the ocean. I don't know what the area was called, but just the area where everybody was gathered after they released Lena into the ocean. There was the beach with Daemon and Rhaenyra, and then there was probably the underground cave with the kids, and in the hilltops with Aemon, right? There was probably 5 settings max, but the majority of the episode was honestly placed and held in the one gathering area where the majority of the people there for the funeral were gathered. It really just stuck on this scene for a really, really, really long time, and it didn't change. It really just and it was amazing acting by everyone in this scene, because a lot of emotions and a lot of just feelings on how everybody was feeling towards each other was just conveyed with just simple looks. And somehow, like, I swear, like, this show somehow could take just a simple setting and make it so tense. Like, I was literally kind of sitting back in my seat the whole time, like, what is gonna pop off? Like, they're not just sitting on this setting for this long for something not to pop off. And the thing is, something did pop off, but it didn't even pop off in that setting, which was good, because it's like us as the House of Dragon audience, we know something's gonna pop off, but it's just a matter of when is it gonna happen. And they just lingered it, and it really didn't pop off till closer to the end, because obviously there was a lot of stuff that had to build up to that point. We see continued questioning of the legitimacy of Rhaenyra's boys, which we all know they're not Laenor's kids, and there's just continuous inter-family drama and beef, and that's what sets this show apart from Game of Thrones, where Game of Thrones was spanning different nations. Like, you saw the king go from King's Landing to Winterfell, them go from Ned Stark, go from Winterfell to King's Landing. So there was different settings where the show took place. There was people coming from the Vale and just different areas in Westeros. House of the Dragon, it's really contained, whether it's King's Landing or Driftmark, but it's contained in certain areas, but the drama just continues to get heightened in between the family. So it's not like it's between warring kind of nations and kingdoms. It's more all civil civil inter-family conflict. So it makes it even spicier as the audience, right? Because we basically see, and I'm gonna get into it later on, but we basically see like a really, really good shot. And you know what? I'm gonna get into some of the amazing shots right now. The shot that I was actually just about to mention was where we finally kind of get like a blatant reveal of the blacks versus the greens. Like it's like it was a really good shot just displaying this two sides of the warring families that's going to be going forward, right? So obviously that happened at the end. I'm going to get into how they even got to that point where it showed the divide in the two families. But some of the other amazing shots were of Vhagar flying. Like one Vhagar looked amazing. There was one shot of Aemon directly standing in front of Vhagar and Vhagar's mouth about to open, and it looked amazing. And then there was another shot of Vhagar kind of flying in front of the moon. Amazing. So there were some amazing shots in this episode, and not quite leaving the funeral and the proceedings after. We're actually quickly introduced, and this is a major point that I forgot because we saw in the last episode that Larys Strong set up stuff that his brother Harwin and his father, which was Hand of the King, they ended up getting burned. And I think I mentioned in my last review that the body didn't look like the previous Hand of the King, but I think they're both dead. I think they are both. I think him and Harwin are both dead. But we're quickly shown that Otto Hightower somehow got his way back into the good graces of the king. And not only that, he has the Hand of the King pin on him. And we see a nice shot of it kind of zoomed in on the pin and him kind of fixing it, right? Just, you know what I mean? Him kind of portraying like, this is where I'm supposed to be, right? And we even get a nice interaction between Daemon and him, where Daemon's like, the leech keeps on getting bigger and keeps on sucking or whatever. But like, I'm paraphrasing and I'm butchering the quote, but he was basically just saying to Otto Hightower that he's a leech and he's always going to find a way to somehow suck the blood and the life out of the people closest to him to survive. And then there were also just other moments in the funeral where Alicent gave Rhaenyra a look, and Rhaenyra kind of like propped up and kind of got shook a bit after she told her son to go talk to Daemon's children. So now getting into, I guess, the beefier part of the episode. So as the funeral was going on, or as the proceedings after the funeral were going on, we see Aegon's just drunk. So I'm interested to see how he develops as a character when they get older, because there is a point in the show where we see the kids even maybe like 18-ish. So I'm interested to see what kind of character Aegon is going to turn into if he's the one that inevitably ends up on the throne. I think, and let me know in the comments. Obviously, no, actually, never mind. Don't spoil it for me, but that's who I think ends up getting on the throne. But I'm interested to see his character arc and just to see if he continues being like that, the guy that just likes Gyal and wants to drink and just wants to chill and just doesn't really care, right? I really want to see if he changes or if that's how he's going to be. Now, going to Aemon, which was where the episode was really focused on, and I'm not going to lie, I really like Aemon as a character. Like, even seeing him in the previous episode when he was getting bullied by not only his older brother, but the other kids that are technically not even supposed to be in line for the throne, and he knows that. He probably knows that deep down, but he's hearing insults from them and his older brother about how he couldn't claim a dragon and just how he's just soft in a sense. So I just really was interested in his character and seeing how he kind of faced everything, because even with all the insults that he was getting, it's not like he was kind of throwing a tantrum or he got too in his feelings. He did get sad a bit, but then he had a conversation with his mom and he kind of took it and accepted it and moved on. And that's why we see in this episode, this guy was like, yo, you know what? Forget this. And he took like that fuel and all, you know what I mean? All the roasting and all the disses from before, and he went and he did something major. And he's like, you know what? So that's why me seeing what he did in this episode, as much as there was a part of me that was like, yo, that's crazy that you're actually going to go claim the dragon that was supposed to be for Daemon's daughter and Laena's daughter. But I can't even be mad at it because it was like, it's not like the daughters were the ones making fun of him, but because he was getting all these insults about him not having a dragon, it's like it pushed him to be like, you know what? The biggest dragon doesn't have a rider, so I'm going to try and go get it. So we basically see this whole scene where he's running in the hills, slowly creeping up to Vhagar. And like I mentioned, there's the shot of him standing right in front of Vhagar. And then inevitably when he gets up on Vhagar and is riding Vhagar, and there's the shot in front of the moon. But there's this entire kind of just moment and time in the episode where it's just him approaching Vhagar and trying to figure out how to ride Vhagar. And he does it. And I'm like, I rate you for that. Like, I rate you for taking the hate and the insults and turning it into something. I don't want to say something totally positive because he stole the dragon in a sense, but he did. It's like he did it. He used it to motivate him to do something that he was trying to accomplish. So I like Aemon as a character, and I'm really interested now, especially now that he's riding Vhagar, the biggest dragon. I'm really interested to see how his character arc will play out, how he'll play a part in everything, and how pivotal he's gonna be in the war of the two sides because he has the biggest dragon. So because he ends up claiming Vhagar, when he comes back, the daughter of Daemon sees that Vhagar is flying, and he goes, wakes people up. She wakes people up, and she's like, someone stole Vhagar. As he's coming back, we see the two girls and Rhaenyra's two boys, the strong boys technically, come in, and they're like, you stole the dragon that I was supposed to claim. That was my mom's dragon. And we hear Aemon just be like, yo, like, then why didn't you go claim it then? Right? And you just see that defense mechanism that he kind of shoots up right away is because he's been dissed for a while now that he doesn't have a dragon. So he's like, yo, I'm not taking it no more. Like, I was being dissed that I had no dragon, so I went and claimed one. So now nobody can tell me nothing. But obviously the daughter's mad that she has no dragon because she's already been upset that she hasn't got a dragon, because I'm pretty sure she was the same daughter in a couple episodes ago trying to hatch the egg. So she doesn't have a dragon. She's upset. Honestly, just runs up to the man, clocks him in the face. Then there's just kind of like back and forth because Aemon might be a little like older than them, kind of pushes her off. Like one of the older strong boy approaches him, kind of punches him down. He's about to like smash him with a rock. Like he's basically kind of getting jumped by like all four of them. And he pushes all of them off. We see the oldest strong boy, Rhaenyra's oldest son, take out a dagger, and they're going back and forth, and he ends up slicing Aemon's eye. And there was kind of a bit of foreshadowing of this with the younger sister Helena talking when the mom was talking to Aemon about just, you'll get your dragon. We hear her in the background talking about, oh, he'll lose an eye. So she kind of foreshadows that in order for him to claim the dragon, he's gonna have to lose an eye. Get slashed in the eye. The knights come, like Christian Cole, the other knight that's like the knight to the king. They come, they're like, what's happening? They're trying to obviously stop it because it's prince on prince, but they don't know what to do because they're both royalty in a sense. So then the scene cuts to a different room where this is where the episode, actually this is not where the episode ends, but where the majority ending chunk of the episode takes place, where we see that shot of the black versus the greens. We're in this room where the maester is sewing up Aemon's wound, and Alicent's like, how bad is it? He's like, the wound is gonna heal, but the eye is completely gone. Alicent's upset, so Alicent snaps, and I was kind of upset in this point because no one was like, yo, like the man took my dragon, and explained why, until Aemon came forward and was like, oh, it was worth it. But Alicent snapped and was like, Viserys, like, this is your son. They maimed your son. Like, this is ridiculous. She's like, I want an eye back. Ask Christian Cole to be like, I want his eye. Even Christian Cole was like, yo, like, I can't just go yank a kid's eye like that. Like, I you know what I mean? I serve you, and like, I don't really like Rhaenyra for what she did to me, but I can't just go yank a kid's eye like that. That's even too hectic for me. And so he's like, I'm sworn to you to be your protector, not like your hired gun, basically, right? So Viserys is like, no more talk of this. We need to squash these inter-family dramas, and nobody speak of my grandson, so Rhaenyra's sons, not being legitimized, like, or they're gonna lose their tongue. We see Alicent grab the Valyrian dagger and actually go after the boys herself, and that's where we see that imagery of Rhaenyra holding Alicent back from obviously trying to stab her boys, right? And there's a moment where Christian Cole's gonna get in. We see Daemon stop him, and there's just this back and forth, and inevitably she cuts Rhaenyra on her arm, and she backs up, realizes what she's done, drops the dagger, and Rhaenyra's bleeding, and then we get the shot of the greens versus the blacks, really kind of solidifying who's on each side, and that there are even sides, right? So that was, and like, as much as it might have been too on the nose of, oh, look, the greens versus the blacks, I don't know, I really appreciated a moment in this whole series just being like, there are two warring factions, and here they are. It kind of reminded me of Civil War, Captain America Civil War, where it blatantly showed Iron Man's team and Captain America's team. And even though it might have been too on the nose, like, I like that it showed who's on each side, so you could really get an image and a grasp of who's fighting for who. And then it cuts to the final scene, and it cuts back and forth between King Viserys and Alicent heading back to King's Landing. We see the three dragons flying off: Vhagar, Aegon's dragon, and I think Helena's dragon. I think Helena has a dragon. So I think all three of Alicent's kids have dragons. So we see them flying with the ship back to King's Landing. But then while this is happening, we see Rhaenyra staring off at the ship, talking to Daemon, being like, the war times are coming. Like, I'm going to need your help, uncle. And what am I doing? I forgot to mention that during the funeral proceedings, we see Daemon go off, and we see Rhaenyra go off and meet him. And we actually see that finally, after all this time, and it's so funny because I saw this TikTok where it was like the audience when Cersei and Jaime were getting together, and we were like, oh, like, what's going on? And then when we saw Daenerys and Jon, we were like, oh, okay, like I guess. And then now that it's Rhaenyra and Daemon, we're like, yeah, man, like, get together. Like, I don't know what it is. Like, the chemistry is just undeniable. From episode 1, we saw the chemistry. So we see them finally, before all the eye stuff pops off and the Vhagar stuff pops off, we see them finally get down to it. She explains to him how she felt all these years after him leaving her. He was like, you were too young. She's like, he tried to explain why he couldn't do it in that moment. And she basically was like, I'm not a young girl anymore and I want you. So they get down, they consummate the love. You know what I mean? They finally get down. So then now jump to this final scene where we see them looking out at the ridge and she's like, uncle, I need your help, right? She's like, let's solidify our partnership and our house by getting married. We can make more kids. So that would legitimize any kind of heir that she would have. So even if the strong boys aren't legitimized, she would have real legitimized kids based on her having kids with Daemon. They have a whole marriage with the 2 strong boys and Daemon's 2 daughters. So all 4 kids are there. They have like a blood ceremony where they cut their hands, join blood together, like a serious ceremony to join their houses, right? And while this is happening, we see Rhaenyra explaining the plot. So this is what I mean by it kept jumping from them looking out at the ridge to it jumping back to the marriage to it jumping back to Rhaenor actually fighting the love, the guy that he was in love with. Because as Rhaenyra's explaining, or Daemon kind of interjects, he's like, we're not going to be able to get married until Rhaenor's dead. And she's like, I know. And I honestly thought they were going to kill him. And I did hear in the books that he died in battle or something like that. But in this case, they're changing it a bit. And I really thought that they were going to just kill him off because they felt no ways, because they were like, you know what, we got to do what we got to do because war times are coming, right? There's this whole part of Daemon going to the guy that Rhaenor was in love with, seeing that he paid him off, thinking that he was going to kill Rhaenor. So they're having a fight in Corlys's hall where him and Rhaenys had an excellent conversation about pride and about legacy. And Corlys is talking about names are thicker than blood when it comes to the throne and to legacy. People remember names, not blood, right? So that was like an excellent moment in the episode also that I forgot to mention. Now back at this hall, the same setting, we see we see Rhaenor and the guy that he was in love with fake fighting. We see there's like a kid, like a servant kid in there being like, I'm gonna go get help. Right before that, we see Daemon end up killing a guy. And I was like, okay, like what is that about? And then it jumps to Corlys and Rhaenys coming in the room and thinking that Rhaenor got murdered because he was wearing Rhaenor's clothes. I'm pretty sure they cut off his hair and they put the hair in the fire also. And obviously because the servant boy was there and saw the 2 people were there, he probably reported that Rhaenor was in there. So they realized that was Rhaenor's clothes, thinking that Rhaenor died. And I was like, damn, eh? They actually killed him off like that. Like I was like, the guy that he was in love with him killed him off for gold. We then jump to the end scene where Rhaenor actually shaved his head, getting in a boat with the guy that he loved, sailing off and probably heading to Dorne or the east, that way where they don't really care so much about men being with men. So that was a nice little ending, seeing that he was still alive. I'm wondering what they're going to do about Sea Smoke. I'm wondering if Sea Smoke's going to follow him or if Sea Smoke's just going to be kind of drifting and lingering. And if he is lingering, are people going to think, oh, he could be claimed now because Rhaenor is dead, but Rhaenor's not actually dead. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with Sea Smoke now that they changed it from the books and that he's actually alive now. But that was a kind of good ending for him because like Rhaenyra said, he is a good man. So it was nice to see that the couple that actually loved each other, genuinely love each other in the show, they're getting a happy ending. I wouldn't be mad at Rhaenor coming back with Sea Smoke at one point and kind of helping out Rhaenyra if it's like dire need. Who knows? I'm kind of just making up stuff right now. But they faked that. So because that happens, Daemon and Rhaenyra are actually able to get married. So we see that their house is kind of solidified. The Greens are solidified because Alicent has real kids with King Viserys right now. So right now we're at like the tipping point. And I think there's supposed to be another time jump that shows the kids a little bit older. And I'm not going to lie, I'm very interested now that the tension between the kids is ramping up. I'm very interested to see how they're going to be when they're older and how that tension is going to be between them, because it's already been shown a little bit. So amazing stuff coming out of this episode. As much as there weren't a lot of settings and it didn't go to a lot of places, a lot of stuff was covered and revealed in this episode. So I know I went on a little longer than I thought, but this show is just giving me so much to talk about and to want to break down that I feel like I got to talk about everything that spices me. So I think that is it for this review. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up. If you think you'd be interested in content like this, House of the Dragon reviews, Andor reviews, Rings of Power reviews, trailer reactions, entertainment news updates, subscribe to the Brandon Cryan Network. You will not regret it. I appreciate you for watching. Catch you next time.